Hey everybody, and welcome to the Knowledge Pool, a think tank of games and magic. I know it's been a while. I haven't been able to put out videos. I've been working on harder videos. I haven't been putting out little things, things that keep you enticed, keep you watching, and I'm really sorry about that. So I've decided today that I'm going to do a couple videos. So if you are watching this or one of the subsequent videos after it, hopefully that means that I spent all of one day at least preparing some topics for you and, talking about my thoughts on them. I have so many ideas and sometimes they just get jumbled in my head and I just don't think to put anything out while I'm thinking about what I want to put out. So hopefully these little vlog type videos still excite you, they still get you involved, and don't worry, we'll have more edited videos later that are still, full of jokes and full of everything and really follow the kind of thing that I normally like to do. But in the meantime, let's talk Strixhaven. Today, Wizards of the Coast put out a video that was the Strixhaven college tour video, the hype pre-video to what is going to be the spoiler season for Strixhaven. And this was the time that I've been waiting for quite a few reasons. One, everyone was very, very worried that Strixhaven was going to be a lot like Harry Potter. And me personally, I felt like it wasn't going to be. I have actually a bunch of thrown away videos where I talk about that concept and just kind of letting Wizards show off what they're doing before they jump off the handle and think, for sure this is going to be like Harry Potter. It's a magical school, it's going to be like Harry Potter. And as people started dying out on talking about the topic, I started getting a little, I don't really need to bring this up. People are getting it, people are chilling out on the idea. But the Strixhaven college video came out today, and I thought it was really cool. I mean, it's cheesy, like the Zendikar Rising one was, but it had a lot of cool cards shown in it. It showed off the schools and what they were going for in terms of a magical school or whatever. And I just kind of want to talk about the fact that how not like Harry Potter it was. So one of the big things that people worried about, they saw schools and the first thing they thought of was Harry Potter, which I get. Harry Potter was one of the biggest magical school things to ever hit anywhere, hit the world. And it was so entrenched, it's what created the magical school genre as a high level genre to make things about. All of your favorite stuff is kind of based off of Harry Potter if you're into things like the superhero school stuff like Boku no Hero or other magical genre things. There's that Little Witch Academia show that's an anime that is about little witches, and all of these popular things, things that drew off of Harry Potter's popularity at least, and if not just ripped off the world in order to bring you similar stories. Since we're talking about Strixhaven though, I do want to talk about how it's different. So the 5 magical schools in Strixhaven are much more like the college system in a lot of European countries. The university with many colleges at it. So in Harry Potter, in the school system that they have set up there, everybody's divided into houses, which are really like dorms based off of their character traits. Like if you are ambitious, you belong in one house. If you're courageous, you belong in another one. If you're intelligent and you think things through, you go in a third one. It's based off of what traits describe you, which Americans kind of deal with more in cliques than they do in terms of who they are always around and who they have classes with. We tend to divide into those groups due to social structures within our schools. In Harry Potter, this takes on the form of houses, which are like dormitories, and you basically hang out with people who you are like, which is kind of weird, but also the idea is to give them a place to belong, a structure that they can feel close to, and people that they don't mind cooperating with in order to do the things that they need to do, such as go to school and things like that. If you notice in the Harry Potter world, there's very few fights in the dormitories. They do happen. There is drama within the dormitory itself, but in general, it's inter-house clashing, not in-house clashing. And that's the idea of having things set up by dormitory. Strixhaven is set up more like a regular college, where the schools are divisions of subject and what you practice. So in a real college, like the college I went to, the dorm that you lived in, you would live in a dorm with people from various subjects. You lived with people who were studying art and English and other languages, then math, you know, whatever. But you spent your school day in your building with your subjects. So I would spend a lot of time in the building that was the math building, because that's what I majored in. My buddy and I didn't see each other during our school days because my best friend was a history major and he was in the history building doing all his stuff. So that is the way that the schools come across to me. And yes, there are traits that are exemplified according to the way the schools are pronounced. It's like, oh, you might fit well in Silverquill if you've got a sharp wit and a penchant for writing. Yeah, like a writing major might, you know, like it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be an ambitious douche, or, you know, whatever terms that people want to use in order to classify, you know, personality traits. If you're adventurous and you like history, you are probably going to like Lorehold because they are historians that go on adventures. But if you're a nerdy historian, there's a place for you in Lorehold too. If you're an introvert or an extrovert in Lorehold, as long as you're into bringing history to life, you're there for the reason you're supposed to be. I'm really glad that they went this route, because I was kind of defending Wizards of the Coast, because a lot of people are ready to think the worst of a company or a product when it has some similarities based in what we know. And they're not off the hook yet. Like, there's only been the one video so far. There hasn't been a lot of lore talked about just yet. There are problems with the lore in some cases, and I'm sure that we can come into that into another video. But overall, it was cool that it wasn't as much like Harry Potter as everyone was expecting it to be, at least at first glance, and that, you know, there's room for it to continue to be its own unique thing. Like, is the 5 dragons that created the school 700 years ago kind of reminiscent of the way that Hogwarts was created? Sure. But until we see one where it's like, and this one dragon didn't get along with the others, like, until we start seeing some real solid evidence, I want to see a fake, overcomplicated game involving magic before I start throwing stones on whether or not they are copying Harry Potter. Because at this point, you got to be careful to not mix up the idea of ripping off a property and tropes. Tropes are used in all forms of media to get an idea across to the audience. If you want your audience to know that this character is absolutely unredeemable, you might have him do something bad to an animal. That is a trope of a pure evil villain. You know, like, it's something that you might see in that occasion. When it comes to these kind of property things, I'm always hesitant to push on the idea that it has to be like something. And the main reason for that, and this is important for what we'll be talking about later when we get into very serious videos, if you are looking for similarities between things, you will find them. Even if there are very few or if they're very far between, if you are trying to connect two things, you will. And I used to have that problem a lot when I was younger. There was a friend of mine who was very into doomsday prophecies, you know, things like the Mayan calendar and Y2K, you know, any of these sort of end of the world scenarios. And someone jokingly said that if you read Green Eggs and Ham, you would be able to find a doomsday property if you read it hard enough. And that person that I used to hang out with without missing a beat had a doomsday prophecy tied to Dr. Seuss's children's book, Green Eggs and Ham. You can see how that can be a little, not just frustrating, but scary that someone reads that hard into something so small. So I'm really glad that for the first bit here, Strixhaven is showing itself to be its own thing, that it looks very interesting. I like the way that they've split up schools by subject. It is something that is in tune with me as an American, and I'm curious to see where things go from here. And I think that I will reserve the Troubles video until we've seen the set and we've seen the story, and I will come out with a follow-up video that talks more about this later. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this for now. I actually have a lot I could say on it, but I don't want to drown this video out by making it long and unmanageable. I'm glad to see you guys. I'm back, and I'm going to try to be back and continue to give you guys something to talk about, something to discuss with me, and something to learn. I'm Dish, and follow me all the places, and everybody out of the pool.